Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to talk about a topic that is very close to my heart, the 6 characteristics of people who talk less. You might be wondering, why am I interested in this topic? Well, the truth is, I am one of those people who talk less. Yes, you heard me right. I know it might sound surprising, considering that I make YouTube videos for a living, but I'm actually an introvert who prefers to listen more than to speak. Now, before you judge me or think that I am weird, let me tell you something. There's nothing wrong with being a person who talks less. In fact, there are many benefits and advantages of being a quiet person. And in this video, I will share with you 6 characteristics of people who talk less that make them unique and valuable in this noisy world. But before we get into that, please make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to get notified whenever I upload a new video. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It really helps me out a lot. Thank you so much for your support. People who talk less are good listeners. The first characteristic of people who talk less is that they are good listeners. This might seem obvious, but it is actually very rare and important in today's society. Most people are so busy talking that they don't pay attention to what others are saying. They interrupt, they judge, they argue, they criticize, they give unsolicited advice, or they simply zone out. But people who talk less are different. They listen with genuine interest and curiosity. They pay attention to the words, the tone, the body language, and the emotions of the speaker. They don't interrupt or try to change the subject. They don't judge or criticize or impose their opinions. They simply listen and try to understand the perspective of the other person. This makes them great friends, partners, colleagues, and leaders. People feel comfortable and safe around them. They feel heard and respected. They feel valued and appreciated. They trust them and open up to them more easily. They seek their advice and guidance when they need it. People who talk less are good listeners because they know that listening is not just a skill, but an act of kindness and respect. People who talk less are deep thinkers. The second characteristic of people who talk less is that they are deep thinkers. This means that they don't just accept things at face value, but they question them and analyze them from different angles. They don't just follow the crowd or the trends, but they form their own opinions and beliefs based on logic and evidence. They don't just react impulsively or emotionally, but they reflect carefully and rationally before making decisions or taking actions. People who talk less are deep thinkers because they value quality over quantity. They prefer to have fewer but more meaningful conversations than many but superficial ones. They prefer to have fewer but more reliable sources of information than many but questionable ones. They prefer to have fewer but more impactful goals than many but trivial ones. People who talk less are deep thinkers because they know that thinking is not just a process, but an art and a science. People who talk less are creative. The third characteristic of people who talk less is that they are creative. This means that they have a rich imagination and a unique perspective on things. They can see possibilities and opportunities where others see problems and limitations. They can come up with original and innovative ideas and solutions where others see cliches and stereotypes. They can express themselves in artistic and aesthetic ways where others see boring and mundane ones. People who talk less are creative because they value diversity over conformity. They don't try to fit in or please others, but they embrace their individuality and authenticity. They don't copy or imitate others, but they create their own style and voice. They don't follow the rules or the norms, but they challenge them and break them. People who talk less are creative because they know that creativity is not just a talent, but a gift and a responsibility. People who talk less are observant. The fourth characteristic of people who talk less is that they are observant. This means that they pay attention to the details and the nuances of things that others might miss or ignore. They notice the patterns and the connections between things that others might overlook or dismiss. They appreciate the beauty and the wonder of things that others might take for granted or neglect. People who talk less are observant because they value depth over breadth. They don't just skim through things or rush through things, but they dive into them and explore them. They don't just see things or hear things, but they feel them and experience them. They don't just know things or learn things, but they understand them and apply them. People who talk less are observant because they know that observation is not just a sense, but a skill and a habit. People who talk less are humble. The fifth characteristic of people who talk less is that they are humble. This means that they don't boast or brag about themselves or their achievements, but they let their actions and results speak for themselves. They don't seek or crave for attention or recognition, but they let their work and contributions speak for themselves. They don't compare or compete with others, but they focus on their own growth and improvement. People who talk less are humble because they value substance over appearance. They don't care about what others think of them or say about them, but they care about what they think of themselves and say to themselves. They don't rely on external validation or praise, but they rely on internal motivation and satisfaction. They don't measure their success or happiness by others' standards, but by their own standards. People who talk less are humble because they know that humility is not just a virtue, but a strength and a wisdom. People who talk less are powerful. The sixth and final characteristic of people who talk less is that they are powerful. This might sound paradoxical, but it is actually very true. People who talk less are powerful because they have more control over themselves and their lives. They have more control over their thoughts and emotions, which makes them more calm and confident. They have more control over their words and actions, which makes them more respectful and responsible. They have more control over their time and energy, which makes them more productive and efficient. People who talk less are powerful because they have more influence over others and the world. They have more influence over others because they earn their trust and respect by listening to them and understanding them. They have more influence over the world because they make a positive impact by thinking deeply and acting creatively. People who talk less are powerful because they know that power is not just a position, but a choice and a responsibility.